Thank you. Thanks. Giovanna, thank you. That was awesome. And I say that not just as your governor, but also as someone who couldn't quite make it through pre-med and ended up in a different career. We are fortunate that pre-med wasn't right for you and that you're doing this work. And you are who we're fighting for every day to make sure that you have an opportunity to get in the classroom and to bring your immense talents to helping the next generation of community leaders. So thank you. We appreciate you very, very much. And it is good to be back in the Lehigh Valley, and it is wonderful to be here today. Superintendent Silva, thank you for inviting me. Where'd you go? There you are. You started over there. Thank you for inviting me. Your team has just been wonderful. You've got a terrific group of leaders here, and we appreciate you very, very much. And thank you for letting me speak to Miss Taylor's second grade classroom. I really enjoyed visiting with them and getting a chance to read to them. I want to also say we had an opportunity to hear from Giovanna, and Jeff made the point earlier about the mentor teachers. Let me thank Nicole Callum for her great work mentoring Giovanna as well. So thank you. When I walked in, I was trying to explain to some of the, I think it was the third grade student, what a governor actually does. And this student was really smart. They said, well, you make laws. And I said, well, I don't get to make those laws by myself. In fact, I work with people from another branch of the government. And they were correct in mentioning the other branch of the government being the legislative branch. I want to let you all know, here in the Lehigh Valley, you have an extraordinary group of legislators that fight for you and deliver for you every single day. You heard from them before, but Senator Boscola has been, she's a veteran leader. She's been doing this for a long time. She knows how to deliver, and she's about common sense. And I know, speaking of mentoring Nicole, she's mentoring Senator Miller along the way, one of our newer, whether he likes it or not, I don't know, one of our newer senators, but who comes from an education background and brings that expertise to the work that he does as a state senator. Speaking of education, Representative Schweier, who you know is Pete in the community, this guy is the chairman of the Education Committee. That is a big deal. For all the changes that we've made, they all go through his committee. If he's not for it, it doesn't happen. And if he's not talented enough to, figure out how to get this done, it doesn't happen. And he delivers for us every day. I'm really grateful to Chairman Schweier. I'm really grateful to Representative Samuelson, a guy who also is a veteran member of the legislature. We served together in the legislature, and he's known as Sammy Samuelson, and a man who cares deeply about our kids. I need you to understand, you're blessed with this delegation. They work really hard for you. They deliver for you. It's not always like this, but this group does a great job. And so I'm thankful that they're here today and thankful that they're going to shepherd this again through the budget process and help us get this done. You heard from Jeff Nye, a member, leader of PSEA. They really were a big driver behind this and so much more of the education reform and investments that we've been able to make. And Jeff, I'm grateful to you and PSEA for your leadership. Nathan, I'm grateful to FIA for administering this. And I really want you, if you haven't already, to meet Carrie Rowe, who is my nominee to be Secretary of Education here in the Commonwealth. Coming from an education background, you heard in Northwestern and in Southwestern Pennsylvania. She's worked at the Department of Education for some time now. She's going to be an awesome leader of PDE, and we're really grateful to you, Secretary Rowe, for being here and for your leadership. One of the things that you may not know is that we are one of the only states in the entire country, I think there are 3 of us now, last year there was only 1 of us, with a divided legislature. The Senate is led by Republicans, the House is led by Democrats. So for me to get any bills to my desk, I'm going to go a little deeper than I did for the second graders here. Follow me on this. To get any bill to my desk requires Republican and Democratic support, and requires what Senator Boscola was talking about before and what she preaches, which is common sense. We have focused on seeing a problem and then solving that problem and bringing Republicans and Democrats together to get that done. Case in point, and your superintendent knows this very well, is the way we fund education in Pennsylvania. The year before I took office, or actually right around the time I was taking office, a court ruled that the way we fund education was unconstitutional. Literally was against the Constitution that says that every single person in Pennsylvania has a constitutional right to a thorough and efficient education system. What did we do? We didn't wring our hands about it. We actually didn't file lawsuits to try and stop it. We all came together, Democrat and Republican alike, and addressed what the court said. We not only are putting, as Representative Samuelson said, an historic amount of funding into public education, and this district has benefited from it. We also fixed the formula. Schweier insisted upon this with others to make sure that the dollars that we put in now go to the districts that need it most. So we funded the schools and we made sure to drive the dollars out to the schools that need it most. An example of solving a significant problem. We not only solved that problem statewide, we made sure that districts like yours benefited from that, from more money and from this new formula. So for example, the Bethlehem Area School District received in this last budget just almost $56 million from the state, $56 million. That is $8.4 million more than the year before because of the new funding formula and because of the additional funding. Putting your superintendent, your principal in a position to make sure they can hire more teachers, shrink class sizes, give the students the technology and the materials that they need, hire more mental health counselors, be able to do repairs on buildings that need those repairs, put more dollars into special education. We are making sure that districts like this that are growing, and the sixth largest, you said, in the Commonwealth, have all the resources that they need. That's an example of a problem that we solved coming together, Democrats and Republicans alike. But it's only one problem. We also have a serious workforce challenge. Now, let me explain. Workforce is really different than employment. Employment is right now, and actually more Pennsylvanians went to work today than at any other time in our Commonwealth's history. Our unemployment is historically low. When you think about workforce, though, you have to think about the challenges you have tomorrow and the next day and in the months and years to come. We have a shortage of really critical workers. We have a shortage of nurses and firefighters, police officers, those who care for the elderly. And yes, we have a shortage of teachers. And so we set ourselves out to solve that problem too when it comes to teachers. Right now in Pennsylvania, we have 5,500 teacher vacancies all across our Commonwealth. That's in large measure due to the fact that fewer people are choosing to go into teaching, and fewer people are getting certified each year. 10 years ago, Pennsylvania certified about 20,000 teachers each year. Last year, Pennsylvania certified 5,600 new teachers. 20,000 to 5,600. Now, there's some good news in that. If you squint, you look really closely. The 5,600 is 600 more teachers certified than the year before. So we're beginning to grow again because we set our sights on solving this problem. The Pennsylvania Department of Education, led by Secretary Rowe, is prioritizing hiring more teachers and getting us back to where we were before. We came together and identified the problem of a teacher shortage, and we came together with a tangible, common sense solution, which is to provide to people like Giovanna a teacher stipend to make sure they have dollars in their pockets while they're student teaching. In the past, folks would take out a loan while they were student teaching, or they'd have to dip into their savings. Or, unfortunately, what we saw too oftentimes, they would love education. They would want to help our kids, but then they would go into a different career path because they simply couldn't afford to go into teaching. So we put together this teacher stipend initiative, which has helped 2,240 student teachers all across Pennsylvania. But unfortunately, that is not enough. We need to fund more of this. Just when we opened up the window for applications, we had 4,299 applications. So over 2,000 students student teachers didn't get the opportunity for one of these stipends. The good news is folks like Giovanna did, but we also need to make sure that more do. That is why in my budget, I've doubled the amount of money that's going to be made available to student teachers to increase it by more than 1,000 student teachers next year. So we really hope that we're getting closer to that 4,000 number with this bump up in our state budget. As you heard from Nathan, the application window for next year is opening up on Thursday. And so I want to encourage student teachers all across Pennsylvania to apply right now. And I want to encourage you to reach out to your lawmakers. You can skip the ones up here because they're already on board, and tell them how important it is to double the student teacher stipend in this year's budget so we can continue to grow the number of teachers we are certifying in Pennsylvania. And by the way, speaking of certifying teachers in Pennsylvania, when I took office, it took almost 3 months to get a teacher certified. Now we have it down to less than 2 weeks. We are moving more quickly, getting these teachers in the classroom, and we have these student teacher stipends available to help more of them offset the cost that they would typically have waiting to get their full-time job. Listen, education workforce shortages is a key challenge. That's why I've made addressing workforce issues a huge priority in my budget, specifically the kind of workforce shortages that we've been experiencing in our schools. I want to make sure every one of those second graders I met not only has Miss Taylor, but has a bunch of Miss Taylors, because they deserve the best of the best. This is the foundation upon which we build everything else, an amazing education for these kids. And the way we deliver that amazing education is through our teachers, and the way we bring more teachers into our classroom is by supporting the expansion of the student teacher stipend. So I want to thank you for welcoming me here today and giving me the opportunity to highlight an important priority of mine in the budget, to highlight the important work these lawmakers did to get these dollars out, to highlight a leader like Giovanna, who is taking our hard work and turning it into reality, which is benefiting our kids, and to show that here in Pennsylvania, we know how to come together and solve problems. And now we've got to really focus our attention on solving these workforce challenges, especially in our schools. So thank you for having me here today. And with that, Giovanna is going to answer any questions from the media. We're happy to be here. Thank you very much. You ready? Any questions? Yeah.
So is $40 million enough to get this stipend to everyone who wants it or needs it?
Not everyone, but it allows us to grow it by more than 1,000 student teachers. So to get the number right now that's hovering in the low 2,000s up above 3,000, and then we'll continue to grow from there.
Yeah, optimistically, if you were able to get this passed this year in the budget, you mentioned 20,000 10 years ago. Is there any sort of timeline when you're hoping to get back to that 20,000 number of new teachers?
Well, I think our goal is to get to what we need to make every school district function at an optimal level, to make sure every superintendent feels like they have the complement that they need. Obviously, we need a bigger pool to pull from, and that is what I think this student teacher stipend initiative is showing, that we can now increase the size of the pool and increase the number of teachers. So we saw a problem. We created sort of a nadir, right, a bottom, and now we are growing again, and we got to keep growing. And I believe if we continue to grow at the pace we are, we're going to address our workforce challenge. Yes.
Yeah, my issue is, how do we solve the problem of the black educator? Black educators are now called an endangered species, and so there are not enough of us in the classroom, and it sends a wrong message to all the children in the classroom. So how do we solve that problem?
Well, I'll answer generally. I'll leave it up to your local district to answer more specifically about issues here. If we have a larger pool to pull from, if we have more teachers that are going through the process that look like the students that they are there to educate, that allows us to have more diversity in our teachers and in our teaching complement, and that I think is good for everyone. Anything else? No? Yeah, last one.
Why come to the Lehigh Valley? Why come to Bethlehem Area School District to talk about this policy?
Because I think the Lehigh Valley has its act together in so many different ways. One, you've got a complement of lawmakers who know how to work together to get stuff done. You've got a district that is large and is benefiting from the new funding and utilizing that funding in a really smart way to educate our children. and because I think they can be a model for the rest of the Commonwealth as to how to take this initiative, the Student Teacher Stipend Initiative, and scale it up and use it to help elevate someone like Giovanna as an example of other teachers across Pennsylvania. God bless you. That was 6. Good job. You feel good? Great. All right. Thanks, everybody.